Welcome to This Explainer. You hear people constantly saying that AI is turning us into the stupidest generation in human history. Honestly, I just don't buy it. The real danger we're facing right now isn't stupidity. It's a massive, unprecedented crisis of critical thinking. We are living in an era where absolutely anything can be faked and a lie can look exactly like the truth. When machines can literally outsmart all of us, the single most important human ability that's going to matter is your own judgment. To really wrap our heads around how critical this is, let me share a completely true, entirely wild story with you. Back in January of 2024, a finance employee at a Hong Kong company called Arup got a message from his CFO asking him to wire $25 million. Now, it smelled kind of fishy, so doing what he thought was the ultra-responsible thing, the employee insisted on jumping on a video call to confirm it. The CFO hopped on the video conference, brought a few other team members along, and together, they literally walked this guy through a step-by-step process to transfer the funds. The employee felt super proud of himself, right? He insisted on in-person instructions, got them, and confidently transferred the money. Well, a few days later, he and his company discovered a terrifying reality. Every single person on that video call was a deep fake. The faces, the voices, the whole shebang, all perfectly generated by AI using random internet clips. And just like that, $25 million was gone forever. Okay, let's really dive into this. We've all heard that old cliche about finding a needle in a haystack. But look, that's just not our reality anymore. Today, finding the truth isn't about finding a needle in a pile of hay. It's trying to find the real needle inside a haystack made entirely of perfect, fake needles that look and feel exactly like the real one. And that is exactly where your critical thinking has to step up. So, in this short explainer course, we're going to walk through 5 specific distortions that are hijacking your judgment every single day. And for each one, we'll give you one simple, actionable tool to cut right through the noise. We're looking at blind authority, true lies, the groupthink trap, AI brain drain, and finally, self-deception.
All right, let's start right in with distortion number 1, blind authority.
Blind authority is this invisible force that routinely fools the smartest people in the room. And honestly, there is no better example of this than Theranos. Think about it. Some of the absolute sharpest minds in finance threw hundreds of millions of dollars at this medical device company, completely skipping basic due diligence. The company peaked at a mind-blowing $9 billion valuation. The founder, Elizabeth Holmes, played what we call the halo effect like an absolute maestro. She was a charismatic 19-year-old Stanford dropout, wore black turtlenecks just like Steve Jobs, and spoke in this unusually deep baritone voice. And her board of directors? Staggering. We're talking former secretaries of state, a retired 4-star general, former CEOs, just brilliant, powerful people. But here's the catch. Did any of them know anything about blood chemistry? Absolutely not. The investors were completely driven by FOMO, that intense fear of missing out on the next Apple or Google. Holmes operated behind a veil of total secrecy. When reporters asked how the tech actually worked, she gave these masterful non-answers. It was essentially a miracle medical machine that dodged all scrutiny, provided zero actual medical proof, and nobody bothered to ask the right questions until the whole thing crashed and burned.
So how do you prevent this from happening to you? Well, here is your first actionable tool. It's a remarkably simple, completely disarming question. What needs to be true for this to be real? When people start replacing their own judgment with blind trust, letting charisma, fancy credentials, and sheer confidence distort their reality, this question cuts right through it. And you know what? You can even use this with AI. If an AI makes a super impressive claim, ask it, hey, show me the evidence that supports this claim, and then show me the evidence that challenges it. What actually needs to be true for this to be real?
Moving right along to distortion number 2, true lies.
You see, the smartest companies on Earth, they don't actually lie to you anymore. They literally don't have to. Instead, they've completely mastered the dark art of creating true lies. Just take a look at these marketing gymnastics. We are constantly surrounded by what our source brilliantly calls word noodles. They are perfectly legal, they are technically true, but they are absolutely engineered to mislead you. A company tells you a new battery lasts up to 36 hours. Okay, well, that's just a best-case scenario. It's kind of like me saying this explainer will get up to 1 billion views. Even if only 12 of you watch it, I technically didn't lie. Or how about a credit card offering as low as 0% APR? Sure, until you miss exactly one payment and bam, you're hit with 24% compounding interest. Or a car starting at $37,000. But by the time you actually add all-wheel drive and a steering wheel, you're suddenly paying $55,000. Everything is lawyered up, sanitized, and perfectly curated.
To fight back against this, you need a tactic we call the question mark move. Step 1, you've got to train your ear for those shiny words, the empty calorie phrases like up to, clinically proven, or recommended by experts. Step 2, repeat that claim in your head, but literally just slap a big question mark at the end of it. If a tech company claims a phone is up to 8 times faster, you stop and ask, faster than what? Doing this instantly reveals those massive, critical gaps between the shiny promise and the actual reality.
Next up, distortion number 3, the groupthink trap. To really understand this one, we're going to look at the famous Ash conformity experiment. This study proves that when everybody around you knows something, it actually stops you from thinking for yourself. So researchers brought one real participant into a room filled with 7 other people. Everyone was shown a simple line on a board, and then asked which of 3 other lines matched it in length. It was incredibly obvious. No optical illusions, just simple lines. But here's the twist. The 7 other people in the room were hired actors, and they were instructed to confidently give the completely wrong answer. The results were shocking. An unbelievable 75% of the real participants went along with the totally obvious wrong answer. Think about that. 3 out of 4 people compromised their own eyes just because a room full of confident strangers said something else first. Afterwards, the participants confessed they knew the right answer all along. They just couldn't stomach being the only person in the room with a different viewpoint.
But there was a massive surprise hidden in that experiment. When just one of those actors was instructed to give the correct answer, the real participants suddenly felt completely free to give the correct answer too. It literally just took one single person disagreeing to break the whole spell. So your tool here is to actively find the voice of dissent. When everyone around you is nodding in agreement, you desperately need a devil's advocate. And in the AI era, you can literally just ask AI to do this for you. Tell it, hey, make the strongest possible case that this consensus is wrong. Because 1,000 people believing in something definitely doesn't automatically make it true.
Which brings us directly to distortion number 4, AI brain drain. So look, while AI is undoubtedly an amazing tool, it is also the biggest modern generator of distortions, and it's completely rewiring how our brains process information. There's this fascinating study from MIT that highlights this perfectly. Researchers asked 2 groups to write essays. One group had to use their own brains in traditional outside research. The other group just used ChatGPT. As you might guess, the brain activity measured in the ChatGPT group was incredibly low. But the really scary part, just minutes after finishing the assignment, the ChatGPT group couldn't quote a single line of what they had just created. 0 retention. Because AI gives us this infinite, effortless way to generate content, we basically outsource our critical thinking entirely. And when we do that, we effectively just stop thinking altogether.
So how do we actually fix this?
Well, here is your ultimate AI prompt tool. Be precise and please verify. When you're working with AI, it is entirely your job to constantly verify its output. Actually, you should even take the output from ChatGPT and feed it directly into Claude or Gemini to review it. Cross-check them against each other. Remember, these are just mathematical prediction engines. Outsourcing your judgment to them without rigorous verification is a massive, massive trap.
And finally, we arrive at distortion number 5, self-deception.
This is hands down the hardest critical thinking skill to master. Why? Because the one source you will almost never fact-check is yourself. We don't usually sit around lying to ourselves on purpose. We just want a particular story to be true so badly that we completely stop checking reality. Our source for this explainer shared a really poignant anecdote about this. He had a male friend who was deeply, obsessively in love with a female friend. This guy truly, genuinely believed they were absolutely destined for each other. Eventually, our source had a heart-to-heart with the woman, explaining the sheer depth of this guy's absolute devotion to her. Her response was just incredibly wise. She looked at him and said, his love for me is not enough of a reason for me to fall in love with him. Oof, right? We so often let the sheer depth of our own desire for an outcome completely blind us to the actual truth. We get so easily stuck in our own self-deception. So your final, and without a doubt most important tool, is asking yourself this incredibly hard question. What am I refusing to see because I need this story to be true? I challenge you to ask yourself this exact question anytime you feel deeply, emotionally attached to a belief, a relationship, or even a financial outcome. Today, the real and the fake, the highly important and the utterly trivial, they are stirred together so thoroughly that you can barely tell them apart anymore. We are living in a deeply, deeply foggy world. And here is the harsh, philosophical truth of it all. The fog isn't going to lift anytime soon.
But that doesn't mean you're lost. It just means you have to drive slower. Actively investing in your own judgment and your own critical thinking skills is literally the only way you're going to navigate this landscape safely. And look, if you want to keep building these exact skills, you have to practice. You can't just watch this once and be done. To truly arm your mind against these 5 distortions, I want you to go down to the description right now and download the ebook. It's called This is Boring, but it will make you scary intelligent. Go grab it, read it, and start seriously protecting your judgment today.
We've covered a lot ground here. Blind authority, true lies, groupthink, the AI brain drain, and self-deception. Now it is time to put your own judgment to the test out there in the real world. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to carry with you as you navigate that giant haystack of fake needles. What are you refusing to see today?